Ay. I said, excuse me, but you don't understand where I'm at. I was all around the world, on span, cross the map. I've been laying low and now it's time to pop up, bitch, I'm back. Now I'ma run it up. Snooze on the kid that you dumb or what? You better go get your numbers up. Now throw me the oop, I gotta hire a Jerry Maguire. I'm tired of hearing it, show me the loot. I had to listen, they told me to shoot. Like it or not, man, I told them the truth. I stay away from the things that be causing me trouble, just out here enjoying the view. Seeing shit I never had, boy, I used to be a bad boy. And now I'm in my bag, boy, I knew. I don't do the rumors or the tabloids, I'll let you handle that noise. That shit doesn't last, no, it's true. Each time that I move, ayy, my free time ain't free time, it's peace signs if you snooze. I got crease lines in my shoes. Walk with me, you see what I do. Walk with me, you see what I mean. Show you how to see it right through. I said, excuse me, but you don't understand where I'm at. I was all around the world, on span, cross the map. I've been laying low and now it's time to pop up, bitch, I'm back. Now I'ma run it up. Snooze on the kid that you dumb or what? You better go get your numbers up. Really on God, getting paid for this shit while I drink on the job. They so desperate for some clicks to the links on they blog. Being real, man, it's nothing but exhausting. Come on, I said excuse me, please. Why they speak like they knew me? Right from the gate, I had all of it written. When they speak of grace, knowing they didn't include me. It took me a while, I weathered the storm. Bitch, why you hating? Get better informed. No room to slip when the pressure is on. You wasn't with it to move it along. I said excuse me, you don't understand where I'm at. I was all around the world, on span, cross the map. I've been laying low and now it's time to pop up, bitch, I'm back. Now I'ma run it up. Snooze on the kid that you dumb or what? You better go get your numbers up.
Said I'm taking big shots, just stop where I'm driven, no pit stops. This hot, I ain't playing like a 6 spot. Pissed off, thought I told him this a chip shot. I ain't missing cause you know I'm taking big shots. Just stop where I'm driven, no pit stops. This hot, I ain't playing like a 6 spot. Pissed off, thought I told him this a chip shot. I ain't missing cause you know I'm taking big shots. They been trying to get me cheap like a thrift shop, but I told them it's my time, shit a wristwatch. They been talking way before they even doing something. Whoa. If they wanna pay, let's get a tip off. Ain't no silver lining, dawg, this some rose gold. Getting new money, I'm a old soul. Yeah, I get it bouncing like a pogo. Whoa. And I'm too cold like Frozone. And my chick elastic, girl. Told him we ain't in the faking, this ain't plastic, girl. Bought a new whip and cash, now my taxi thorough. Way I'm shooting like step with my passive, bro. The way I'm playing the field, I'm in a league of my own. And now they all in they fields, I got them all on my phone. But dog, I'm hitting the climb, I got no time on the low. Way I'm shooting is messy, the way I'm hitting the goal. I'm taking big shots, just stop. Way I'm driven, no pit stops. This hot, I ain't playing like a 6 spot. Pissed off, thought I told him this a chip shot. I ain't missing cause you know I'm taking big shots. Just stop where I'm driven, no pit stops. This hot, I ain't playing like a 6 spot. Pissed off, thought I told him this a chip shot. I ain't missing cause you know I'm taking big shots. I just left, but you know I'm coming back though. Whoa. And you know I don't play by my rags though. Now go and turn it up to the max, whoa. Send a paper to me now like a fax, whoa. Yeah. Got 2 phones ringing off the hook now. When I'm in the city, I get looks now. I was going bad, but I'm good now. Said I had to go and put my foot down. Told him I'ma get it and go. Nah. Even in the summer, man, they knowing I'm cold. I got a couple checks coming that I made out the flows. Might get a couple more popping if I do it some more. I gotta do it for real. Said I'm back in my bag. All my digits are climbing just like they all on a dash. And they tell me slow down, cause dog, I'm moving too fast. Might go and cop me a Tesla, cause dog, I still got a gas. Said I'm taking big shots, just stop. Where I'm driven, no pit stops. This hot, I ain't playing like a 6 spot. Pissed off, thought I told him this a chip shot. I ain't missing cause you know I'm taking big shots. Just stop, where I'm driven, no pit stops. This hot, I ain't playing like a 6 spot. Pissed off, thought I told him this a chip shot. I ain't missing cause you know I'm taking big shots. Just stop, where I'm driven, no pit stops. This hot, I ain't playing like a 6 spot. Pissed off, thought I told him this a chip shot. I ain't missing cause you know I'm taking big shots. Just stop, where I'm driven, no pit stops. This hot, I ain't playing like a 6 spot. Pissed off, thought I told him this a chip shot. I ain't missing cause you know I'm taking big shots.
Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll. And it's time to run it up, yeah you know. maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Ayy, on the road, here we go. Yeah, we winning by a landslide. Never see me coming, I'm a landmine. Yeah, I ain't taking orders in command like. Yeah, you about to see me on demand like. You know on demand. If you ain't know, you about to understand. Yeah, I got the team by my side, right hand. Yeah, take it to a string, you ain't seen it like that. Yeah, and it's the dream, and we coming for the bag. Yeah, and we ain't never going back now. Future expedited, now we on the fast track now. They won't lend a hand, now they see us on the map now. It's time to act out. Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll. And it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Hey, on the road, here we go. Yeah, at the top of the class on a roll. Hey, and it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Yeah, maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Yeah, on the road, here we go. Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll. And it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Hey, on the road, here we go. Yeah, at the top of the class on a roll. Hey, and it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Yeah, maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Yeah, on the road, here we go. On the road, here we go.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Frankie Candles live stream. Bitcoin breaking into the POC of the range. Our last key level of resistance, guys. Are we going to be able to break this and get the bigger move potentially into $70,000? We're going to talk about it all in today's live stream. We got the daily money flow curving to the upside with the bull divs confirmed at the low. Oh, man, if there's a time to break out, guys, things are looking to set up for that. Now, I'm not necessarily saying we're going to all-time highs, but a potential break into the $70,000 zone. We got 71,440, and then potentially up to $75,000 to $76,000. We're going to break down all the targets, the key signals, such as the daily money flow crossover, which is getting eerily close. And, of course, we'll cover the key levels to the downside in case we do see a continued pullback from the POC of the range. So shout out to the CandleMafia. Welcome in. We got Jason Casper in the chat. What is going on, Jason? Let us know. What do you think, bro? You think that money flow crossover going to fake out? Oh, man. I hope not. But shout out to, we got Frank Coate. Shout out to you, bro. He says, bing bong, welcome in. We got Alexander G, Captain Kirk, Darren Does Things, Jesse holding it down as our mods. We got New Earth Guardian in the chat. What's up, brother? Welcome in. Let's see. Shout out to Xander, said, Frankie, you a G, but not a rapper. I am definitely not a rapper. Shout out to you, bro. We got Rattlehead in the chat. Frankie should do his own song like Master Zen from Sin City Crypto. Shout out, bro. With AI, we could just take my voice and make AI do the song. That way, it won't be total garbage. But shout out to you, man. Welcome in. But guys, and shout out to Jesse. Thank you for the super chat, bro. Said time to smash that doggone like button. Shout out to Jesse. Don't forget to smash the like button if you guys appreciate the free content, the key levels, and the daily analysis here on the channel. But without further ado, guys, we got a lot to look at here on the charts. So let's go ahead and jump on into the charts. Let's get into it. All right, so here we are, guys. 1 hour and 4 hour bear divs. Shout out to the riser. But we'll take a look because we have pushed into a major target here. Now, if you guys have tuned into the live streams recently, and you guys will have to bear with me, you can't see it on screen. I don't know why everything's breaking today. My monitor, it's like from where my mouse is down is just completely chopped up. It doesn't show up on the live stream, but it does show up for me. So I am kind of dealing with a wonky monitor. I'm going to try to pick up a new one ASAP. And then my coffee machine literally exploded, guys, and just like dumped a bunch of coffee grinds. You can't really see it. It just like exploded. It went everywhere. But anyway, dealing with mechanical malfunctions here. But obviously, guys, if you've tuned in to the live streams, you know, we have been looking at this volume profile. Let me hide this key level of support that will come back into play in just a second. But obviously, we were coming up to breaking out of our value area high, pushing into a weekly and a weekly MPOC, which I actually just took off the chart. So let me actually pull those back up real quick. So we had the weekly horizontal, as well as a weekly MPOC that we were hitting yesterday. I'm just going to do one horizontal line because they were pretty much at the same place. So you can see that was there yesterday. We did take a scalp short off that level. Let me hide these MPOCs. We took a little scalp short off of that yesterday, as I mentioned to you guys on the live stream, right? Very likely that eventually that gets stopped out. I was going to take profits if we were able to make it down to the value area high. We never did, but I did have my stop loss at break even. And sure enough, we did continue the uptrend, and I did stop out at break even for that. Technically paid a little bit in fees, but of course, very, very small loss there. Literally just paying for the fees. But obviously, once we were able to get above that weekly MPOC, we had our next major key level above us, which starts here at the point of control of the range, starting here at about $66,909. Now, this does run up to our anchored VWAP sitting at about 68,102. Probably going to get, if we do wind up continuing up, probably going to get closer to about 68K. But as you guys know, looking at the higher time frames and this overall macro profile, I'm also going to show you a different profile that I'm looking at today. But overall, deviation below the lows with nice daily bullish divergences, and of course taking that long in the premium Discord at $58,000. I am still holding a portion of that trade, as I've discussed in every single live stream, because the hope was that we would put in these daily bullish divergences. Of course, it's a deviation below the low, letting us know that that is relatively cheaper price. We take that long position, and then on the way up here, we wanted to see the money flow on the daily starting to cross to the upside. And you can see here we are getting eerily close to the money flow crossover into the green, which of course money flow indicates the overall trend. If we can keep this money flow cooking to the upside, which looks pretty good right now, we can anticipate potential continuation of that overall uptrend. It's not going to call for the ebbs or flows to the downside, but it will call for that overall trend. So this looks pretty good, guys. The thumbnail says, or the title says 70K incoming, and I'm going to show you that exact target in a minute. But overall, guys, looking pretty good. We got the bull divs at the low, money flow coming up, continuing to get closer and closer to that zero line if we zoom into the money flow here. And when we look at the local range here, or the current volume profile that we were bing-bonging around in, of course, when we trade these volume profiles, we have the lows, the highs, looking for shorts at the highs, longs at the lows, shorts at the highs, and then, of course, a couple of long setups here at the POC because we saw that money flow coming up. But a lot of people ask me, right, with the volume profiles, it does give you great areas to look for shorts and longs. Of course, this was part of the reason we took this long, expecting this volume profile to fill in full. But a lot of people, sorry, I literally have coffee grinds in my mouth from the coffee explosion earlier. But a lot of people ask me, like, how do we know eventually, right, price is not going to, price ranges most of the time, but it does not range 100% of the time. And eventually we are going to expect a break up or a break down. Now, how do we identify what the higher probability is here? Now, it is a little sketchy here because we're in a bear market, so you kind of always have to keep that bearish case in mind. But when it comes to the money flow, we got a nice big money flow wave in the red coming into the green. This, in my opinion, very similar to our range back here. If you guys have been watching all the way since we were in this kind of death range back here, we tried to get out. Couldn't do it, back down to the low. We tried to get out, couldn't do it, back down to the low. But you can see money flow is in the red. And on the way to the upside, when we took the long positions at the value area low in anticipation of seeing this volume profile fill in full, once we get up to the high, we decide to hold a portion of our longs from the low because, of course, money flow indicates the overall trend. And obviously, can't get out. Money flow is in the red. Money flow is in the red. But on that third approach, or I guess technically the fourth approach, you can see that money flow starting to cross into the green, making it a decent probability, right? You can argue the higher probability that the trend will likely continue to the upside, eventually giving you the final breakout of that range. And it's kind of similar to back here as well, right? I'm not necessarily saying we have to go to all-time highs. I think everybody knows kind of where I stand, where I think we personally are in the cycle. I'll cover some of that a little bit later in the stream. But it's the same thing here. Bing bonging around in the range, money flow is in the red, but on this approach out, I would say we have a higher probability now than any of the other approaches because this money flow is crossing into the green. And as we pop out of this volume profile, we have some major key levels of support that we do not want to lose in order to look for this trend to continue up, right? Yesterday, we talked about the POC zone. This is still valid, but now that we have moved up higher, I am going to bring up some other local levels. I would say personally, guys, and actually before I cover this, obviously, if we break out of this range, guys, we are also at the same time attempting to get accepted into this profile. So, clear rejection here at the POC. If we do get a continued pullback, there are two major levels I'm looking at. As always, if you are short from a POC, you have to understand there is a probability that you can flip this value area low into support, keeping the doorway into that POC open and potentially a push into the highs at $68,000. Simple volume profile theory. We're leaving our lower range. We want to get accepted up in here. That makes key level number one, the value area low, sitting at $65,250. So, of course, if we do come down here, this is going to be the first big level to look at. If we have to slip below this, it's not all a lost cause because when we pull up our previous range, as you know, we don't want to get accepted back into this volume profile. If we do, I would argue you still have the POC zone. And then, of course, if we get a big correction down, you still have the value area low, which is also confluent with our golden pocket retracement pulled from the absolute low to the absolute high. So even in these bigger correction situations, we do still have some pretty decent support down here to potentially put in higher lows and then eventually continue the uptrend. This is a little bit we'll have to cover this as this comes in, if we get the bigger pullback. I don't know what the daily money flow is going to look like at that point. This would be a pretty deep pullback. But, of course, we're very far away from this level, right? So just understand the golden pocket is still there. However, right now in, the best case scenario, hopefully we could just stay inside of our upper profile. If we lose the value area high, biggest level, very clearly, we have a decent amount of confluence here. Previous value area high, golden pocket, 786, and a daily MPOC sitting in here as well. So if we do end up continuing a bit of a pullback here, this is going to be a big area to hold on top of, right? Come back, retest that previous value area, and then hopefully hold it as support for a continued higher low and a break deeper into our upper profile. Overall, I will say, guys, I am holding a scalp short here. However, similar to yesterday, I'm not going to be super shocked if I get stopped out of it. Yesterday, I got stopped out at break even, like basically a negligible loss. It's going to be the same thing here, super low risk. But if we do get that pullback, I'll lock in some profits. And then, if it turns into a bigger pullback, that's fine. But I do still, at this point, I've talked about this many a times, this is really my preferred level, just to come up here and take out the actual highs at around $68,000. This is the next major level of resistance. So whether we get the pullback first and then we come up here, or if we do just continue to hold local support and keep cooking up towards this level, this is still the biggest level on the chart, that wonderful $68,000 resistance. This is number one. We have liquidity sitting above this high. If we pull up that liquidation heat map real quick, you guys can see we do have a significant amount of liquidity sitting, leading into about $68,700. So we got the liquidity up there, which again makes me a little suspicious of that short just getting stopped out. I do not win every single trade, as I say, pretty much every live stream. I talk about my losses all the time. But of course, a controlled, very small loss, and obviously holding the long from the low kind of puts me in a comfortable position because that long will continue to pay me out. But at the end of the day, I still do really prefer to take out the highs here, guys. We have the liquidity. We have the massive anchor VWAP here pulled from about $83,000, or call it, 82.8. You have the daily MPOC, so if we do get up there, this is going to be that last place to look for scalp shorts. And as I've discussed in the previous live streams, any shorts that we take are treated with a lot of care because with the money flow coming up, the trend continuation bias is to the upside, right? Doesn't mean it's 100% going to play out. We are still in a bear market, but at face value, is daily money flow don't look bad, Mafia. It don't look bad. And I cannot unsee this. I have to take this money flow at face value, and here we go for my daily Market Cipher B take off these lines. I save it every time. I stop saving it because it just defaults back every single time. But this daily money flow looks really good, right? At any time I see money flow doing this, it has to be my bias is higher lows and higher highs. So I would love to come up to eventually sweep that $68,000 level. And then if we do come up there, I think this is the last place to look for some kind of a bigger correction. And obviously, once we end up flipping that $68,000 zone, guys, we have a pretty open door, in my opinion, to about $71,440 into our daily naked point of control. And when we look at this through the perspective of a slightly different profile, which is our volume profile pulled all the way back here from 2024. I had some people ask me, or I had one person ask me yesterday, like, why are you not pulling your profiles to your current price action? And it's very simple. This is a range. This is fair value. And this remains fair value, right? This is previous fair value. And although the range stops here, these levels are still 100% valid on the way back down. You can see that when we had our big capitulation here in the most perfect example. We come down, right? Again, these levels are pulled from 2024. We come down, we tap the value area high, we get accepted in, down to the POC, we chop around the POC, can't get back above it. Sure enough, we head down all the way to that value area low, bottoming out. So just to give you guys an idea of where that range is coming from, and when we look at it through this perspective, I've showed this before on the channel, we have obviously deviated below the low, flip the low into support, making that next target the POC of the range, which is sitting at that high at about $67,300. I'm just going to call this level 68K, guys, because it does go up to the daily MPOC and the anchored VWAP, which is at $68,000. So I'm just going to make that the broad zone. And then, of course, right through this perspective, stay above the low, money flow in the green on the daily, right? Higher lows, higher highs, whether it comes in at the local level or the bigger POC level we have here. The general anticipation is as long as we stay inside this range, we could potentially continue up to hit that $68,000 level. Once we flip that, next likely place for price to go is going to be the value area high sitting at $70,226. And that is also confluent with our daily naked point of control sitting right here at about 71,440. So very clear volume profile perspective here. And I think this is a bit of a cleaner range to look at because you don't have to deal with like two profiles right on top of each other. But yeah, I mean, money flow coming up, guys. Like this is pretty textbook, right? As long as this money flow stays in the green, we can anticipate to eventually fill this entire profile. Once we end up breaking up above this value area high, of course, we could take this value area off the range because it's no longer relevant. If we keep pushing up, that's where I will flip back on to my macro profile, get above 68K, push into 71,440. Once we get above there, potentially we could see that bigger move into about 75 to 70, almost $78,000. This is going to be this is a bit of a bigger zone, right? About 75.6 all the way up to 78K. But overall, through the draw of the volume profiles, this could be an eventual target. So we'll see, right? We're very close to that $68,000 level. I will be interested in potential short positions here. But again, as I mentioned, with the short position I'm holding right now, whether we're looking at the rejection we're getting right now or we push into that $68,000 level, looking at the volume profile, we do have to understand that rejections inside this profile, any short that I take, right, if we get down to that value area low with money flow coming up, I'm looking for higher lows and higher highs overall. So that value area low is really the biggest level of support to hold on top of. So I will, just like the previous shorts that I've talked about, treat those as scalps until proven otherwise, locking in profits along the way in the overall anticipation of a continuation up. Until we see a change here on the daily money flow, this does not look too bad, guys. I can't lie. I know we're in a bear market, but, just look, again, this doesn't mean that we have to shoot off into all-time highs, right? You look at this from a very high, I'm not expecting necessarily to just start yeeting up to 100K. So, when we look at this from a very high time frame perspective, right, of course we're in a bear market, but, I think you guys kind of know where I stand here. I know everybody's waiting for the October low, and I don't blame you for that, right? It has been pretty reliable in the past, but there are conflicts, right? I've kind of said this bear market has conflicts that the previous bear markets did not have, right? Back here in 2022, we were putting in the massive bullish divergences. The timing lined up with the 365 days from the top, and we have the technical indications printing. Here, we have all the technical indications looking to print here, confirmed weekly bullish divergences, confirmed daily bullish divergences. The only thing that does not line up here is the timing, right? Back here was perfect. We had everything lining up. Here, all the technical indicators are showing the bullish divergences, etc. It's just the timing that doesn't line up. And obviously two things can be true at the same time. Is it possible to dip into October? Of course it is, right? If it happens, that's fine. I will continue to buy lower. But when we take a look at this from a technical perspective, guys, we are seeing a lot of the things that we have seen formed at the lows here in previous cycles. So it's okay to wait for October, or I wouldn't, I'm not personally waiting for October. I'm already exposed to the market. If we dip, I'm happy to buy lower. But that timing is not just one thing I'm going to wait for, right? And that's a situation we did not have in the past. Back here, it was like beautiful weekly bull divs. The timing of the cycle lined up perfectly. Even at the top here, weekly bearish divergences. The cycle timing lined up perfectly. Here, we're seeing all the technical confirmations. It's just that cycle timing that's not lining up. And I'm not just going to sit here and say I have to wait for October when I see the contradicting technical indicators. So at the same time as me saying the bottom does not necessarily have to be in, I have to start looking at this and saying to myself, just like we did at the top, weekly bearish divergence, I can't guarantee the top is in at 126K as we're pushing up here, but it's not until you start getting the pullback, right? We see the 2-day money flow starting to cross over. We understand that the weekly money flow is going to follow suit, and it's not until we see those retracements that we can say, hey, 126K looks like the top. There's a lot of narratives up here. Oh, my God, they're going to cut rates. Whatever the narrative is, we're going higher. Sure, that could be the case, but I am not going to ignore the technical indications. And we are in almost the same exact situation here. So I'm not saying the bottom has to be in, but a lot of the technical indicators are pointing towards either the bottom being in or, again, maybe one more flush to the downside. I do think, a lot of people are expecting lower. This happens every single time in the bear market. Another thing we don't have lining up is the percentage drawdown. But as we've discussed in previous live streams, there's many things that could give us a little bit of a shallower bear market this time. So two things can be true at the same time. I'm just sticking to my plan. We'll see what happens, right? But yeah, I do just have to point that out. Weekly bull div confirmed. But of course, understanding we're still in a bear market. And again, the reason I pulled up these higher time frames is because if we pull up our full Fibonacci retracement, right, even if we are going to continue down to a new low, we could potentially get this full golden pocket 786 retracement for a lower high and a lower low. This could potentially give you that ride up to $75,000 to $78,000. So I want to be clear here, right? This is not me saying, oh my God, we're going to all-time highs. But just kind of looking at the information, seeing what it's meant in the past, and kind of comparing the cycles and understanding, even if this is going to continue down, this daily money flow crossover oftentimes is going to give you continuation up. Here, we expected the breakout. Doesn't mean the bottom's in, right? But we look right for those resistances to expect a lower high and a lower low. I won't know, if we do end up getting the bigger retracement, maybe we can start seeing some things on the higher time frames that are indicating that we won't put in a lower high. But just understand, right? Like, this doesn't mean, we could very easily get a massive pump here and still be in a bear market. So, a lot of people are going to say, why are you looking for a pump? We're in a bear market. You can look for pumps in a bear market. It doesn't mean that you're going to all-time highs. I'm a trader, right? I'm looking to make money on these ebbs, flows. And in this case, the signal here is clear as day. So hopefully we can see that play out. Just kind of explaining why I am going to continue to hold a portion of that long position. So there you go. Let's see. Shout out to Chicken says, if we are entering a macro range, why would you short at the value area low? That is a great question. Absolutely valid. So let me actually just explain this, right? This is kind of similar to like shorting in a bear market. Shorting in a bull market. People will say you can't short in a bear market. You can't long in a bear market. But you absolutely can, right? We've taken plenty of longs in this bear market. Obviously, the shorts play out more as swings. And same thing in a bull market, right? We could short here. We could short here. We could short this, right? As a trader, not necessarily, looking to say that I'm going to hold this long for new all-time highs. And when we enter a lower range, this is a great question, right? Your logic is absolutely true. Why would I be shorting, as this is really the doorway to higher prices? And I would actually mark off the doorway to higher prices as this entire zone. And the reason for that is it's just resistance until proven otherwise. And as I explained in the beginning of the stream, the shorts are, I would say, lower probability and treated as scalps, right? For our short here, here's your value area low, right? So it would be like kind of the same question here. Why would I take this short? We talked about this at the moment of taking it, right? Took this in the premium Discord. We had bearish divergences into a key level of resistance. Of course, if this flips into support, we could definitely see a big push up. And with money flow coming up, we can look for low, high, higher low, higher high. But it doesn't mean that we can't capitalize on this. What was this? Almost a 5% move to the downside. Plenty of money to be made on that, as long as you understand that on the way down, you're not necessarily expecting this to be a massive drop. You want to be taking profit at your key level of support, which of course was the POC of the range on our golden with our anchored VWAP confluence, and we actually had the long set up there as well. So we're shorting into a value area low here, but we understand that if we come down, looking at that as a smaller, lower time frame trade into key support for an overall continuation up. It's the same thing right here, right? Shorted into our first major weekly MPOC here yesterday, which did give us a little bit of a pullback, right? This was, I think, like a 1% move to the downside, right? So plenty of room to make some money on a smaller time frame trade. We had our simple bearish divergences into the key level, which was sitting right here. I already deleted the level because it's tapped. But we had our bearish divergences, went and took that trade, and we wind up getting that 1% drop. Now, personally, to be fully transparent, I did not take profit on this trade. I just moved my stop loss to break even, so I just saw it as a free trade. If it ends up breaking down and giving a bigger pullback, I would have taken profit. I ended up not being the case, so I got stopped out at break even. It's the same thing for the potential shorts up here at $68,000, right? Of course, you have to understand that if you get up here and you wind up getting a pullback, you could flip this into support and get a continuation up, right? I'm already positioned for that for the long at $58,000 and potentially new longs that I take on the retracements, right? That's the overall anticipation based on money flow. But it does not mean that we cannot, just like here, capitalize on this potential pullback, looking at it as a lackluster pullback for a higher low and a higher high. So you can be bullish while still taking shorts inside a profile, right? If you get the pullback to the value area low, you can make some money on that move and then hopefully look to take some profits and maybe flip to get another long for a move to the upside. So hopefully that makes sense. Great question. Absolutely valid, because obviously breaking above these levels would call for a much bigger continuation of the upside. I'm not treating any shorts up here as massive moves, right? I'm treating them as exactly what I expect them to be, which is higher lows and higher highs. So hopefully that makes sense. Just trying to make some money on the volatility day to day. But great question. I'm sure a lot of people have that question as well. Let's see. Shout out to Retire, says, see cash, please. I don't know exactly what that means, but if you want to see some cash, I do have some cash sitting here on the desk. Here you go. Here's some cash. I'm just kidding. I don't. Maybe he meant Zcash. Shout out to Drew Barry, says, like I've done a deep dive into the past 3 cycles and in the bear markets, August, September. Watch out, hold on to your butts for what's coming. It's bad. First bear, where we have all ETFs, where we have all the ETFs. Shout out to Drew Barry. I'm not sure if I 100% understand exactly what you're referring to there. I assume you're expecting lower. Which is totally fine and totally possible. Yeah, probably Zcash. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. So yeah, let's take a look at some of these lower time frames because some people are looking at the bear divs. So yes, we did get a little bit of a 1 hour bearish divergence into this POC, little higher highs. I guess, is this a lower high? Yeah, slightly lower high in your 1 hour. I wouldn't say it's the strongest divergence, to be quite honest with you. No bearish divergence here on the 4 hour. Somebody said there was a 4 hour bear div. I do not see it. We have, technically higher highs on price, but you do not have lower highs on your momentum waves. So I don't see a 4 hour bear div here. Taking a look at some of the lower time frames, right? We did get a little 30-minute bear divs into the POC, and of course that's going to give you some kind of a pullback. But a 30-minute bear div does not make me look for, oh my God, it's all over. We're going down like crazy. It's all about low time frame versus high time frame, right? And the high time frame to me, right? Again, the best thing I can do is compare it to this situation right here. Yes, we're in a bear market. Yes, we can go lower. In fact, we actually did, catching the long from the low, riding it to the high. At this point, money flow is in the green. Right, and the value area high was actually right here. Money flow is crossing into the green. I have to anticipate the continuation of the uptrend. Doesn't mean the bear market's necessarily over. But what happens? We get the continuation out of that value area high, and the trend indeed does continue to the upside into our major key level of resistance, which was the golden pocket anchored VWAP, and that is where we had our next shorts to look for a new low. And we absolutely got that. But a couple things are different here, right? We did not have massive daily bullish divergences down here anywhere. We didn't have massive weekly bullish divergences. Here we do, right? Daily bullish divergences, weekly bullish divergences between these lows. Lower lows, higher lows. So, it is a little bit different here. But either way, right, I wouldn't necessarily mean that say that means that the bear market's over. But of course, we can expect a potential continuation higher while still being open to a bigger move down, right? Who knows? Maybe we get up to this weekly daily MPOC at 71,440 and we get the top to come in, right? And then we end up losing it. I won't know until we get up there and we can read the live price action. So yeah, we'll see, right? Could you go lower? Yes. I mean, some of the lower targets sit between 55,000, maybe all the way down to 47,000. But of course, right, like we're just looking at this, right now, money flow is coming up, right? We could continue up. That's at least what I would expect. It's not guaranteed, right? Money flow is not always correct. Sometimes you get a little fake out into the green, you go back into the red. But at this point, right, like I have to take these technicals at face value. So yeah, right, like I wouldn't say this daily money flow crossover is totally invalidating the idea of a new low. But we'll see, right? It would be very, very nice. And again, we're not above, I keep saying it's not over till the fat resistance breaks. We still got to get above 68K to open up that door to higher prices. And to be quite honest, it might be something like this where we take out the highs, right? Then see a bigger correction and then go to fill that profile in full. Either way, right? I'm safe with my long position from $58,000. So that's my overall thought process here. And yeah, I would say locally, of course, the biggest level of support to look at is going to be right here. So I'll give you these exact levels. If we do get a bigger pullback, of course, you got to watch the value area low, 65,244. And then really the big confluence here closest to us is going to be sitting between about 65 and 64,400. If we get a bigger pullback, right, something like that could be in store. Once we lose the 786, I would buckle up for a ride back down to the POC, which is also still going to be key support between about 63,319 and 62,571. We'll cross this bridge if and when we get there. Right now, I just want to talk about the tangible levels, which of course is the value area low and the previous value area high. Stay inside the range. Doorway to the POC is still open. If we lose it, we could just go back and retest the previous range before flipping it to support and coming back up. So for me, the traps for my next trades are simply going to be sitting right up here. And for the longs, going to be sitting here and potentially at that value area low. Of course, I'm always going to prefer the confluent level over the kind of lonesome level here. But I would say this is the trap to the upside. This is the trap to the downside. Key level of support sitting between 65 and 64, 336. Lose that 786. I'm looking for a move to the POC. Very simple, right? And even when you take this off and just look at it from a volume profile perspective, take off some of these intermediary confluences just to simplify things, take off the anchored VWAP, right? Your hope, whether you're looking at just the current profile, you're hoping that you can stay on top of this and continue up, right? Once you break in, lose the 786, POC is next. If we stay inside the upper profile, doorway to the POC is open, right? So yeah, and then of course, break 68K. Could be very interesting, and we talk about this all the time here, guys. Why can't I grab this? Okay, that brush is permanent. Fast move down could lead to a fast move up. right? Not a lot of levels here, right? Just a straight move down, giving somewhat of a low volume gap. If I pull up the VPVR, you can see here, not a lot of volume, right? Price does not like to stick to these low volume areas, right? It likes to gravitate, right? High volume, flip it to support, low volume, fast move. Peak in volume, probably going to give you a little bit of turbulence, right? So we do have a potential low volume gap sitting here. The only thing is when we zoom out, you have this whole situation. So it is, I would still potentially expect the fast move down to lead to a fast move up. You still can see there is a gap in volume here, but 68K is the biggest level. I talked about this on our market update weeks ago when we first started printing those bull divs. And, sometimes I think I might have sometimes I talk about stuff too early, at least for like the average person, because once we see these bull divs forming, we start to hypothesize, well, hey, if these bull divs form, this can give us a pop to the upside, giving us a nice long trade. But what happens if this money flow starts coming up? Well, in that case, we really want to flip $68,000, and that could indicate a much bigger trend to the upside. But when we're down here on price dumping, when we're spotting that bull div where we're looking for the longs, a lot of people are just very bearish, and they're thinking, oh my God, that's crazy. How could you possibly think that? But it takes time to see price come up and see that money flow follow suit, and we're now seeing that exactly. So if you saw that market update, I think the thumbnail said like bullish signal flashing. This is setting up very nicely, and we're seeing that money flow continue up. It's just very nice. So yeah, next key level, 68K. We will see what happens in those pullbacks. Now you guys have all the key levels to look at if we get the pullback. If you're not holding longs from lower, again, that could be the big area to look at. Shout out to Zine, I think is what that says, said 4-hour money flow bearish divergence. I do see what you're looking at here. You got lower highs on your money flow, higher highs on your price action. So, you can argue there if I were to take everything off market cipher B and you're just looking at your money flow, just take all this off. You do have somewhat of a bearish money flow bearish divergence, whether you're looking from these highs or even if you're looking at these highs. But really what I like to see, and who knows, right? Maybe that plays out. I'm not saying that's a bad thing to look at or anything like that. Definitely a money flow bearish divergence. However, the really what I'd like to see up here is medium time frame momentum divergences, right? Like a high, higher high, right? Get those 4-hour bearish divergences and then money flow cross into the red. I won't say you don't have a money flow bearish divergence there because you definitely do, but we don't have any like momentum, real medium time frame bearish divergences. That might have been that you were probably the one I saw that said 4-hour bearish divergence, and I'm like, there isn't one. But I guess if you're looking at your money flow, you do have one. So yeah, I have not really back tested. I guess you can like kind of look at something like this. Right, you have lower highs, higher highs, right? Money flow bearish divergence. Sure, you do get a pullback. You also had momentum divergences here as well. You do get a pullback, but then you just fake out into the red, come back into the green. Now, that's just one instance of it not playing out. I'm sure there's instances of it actually playing out. I can't sit here and do like a whole statistical analysis. But yeah, I would say that is there. Not something I'm super worried about, especially with daily money flow coming up. Let's see. So yeah, we'll see what happens, guys. Target hit. Do prefer the 68K level though. So I'm not going to be shocked if I get stopped out of this short. I'm totally fine. Don't mind taking some losses here. This one, sorry, not this one. This one was basically a free loss. This one right now will be an actual loss. I have not moved my stop loss yet. But when we look at the lower time frames here, we do have 30-minute money flow attempting to come out with an 8-hour red dot looking to print. Potential bearish market cipher B116 strategy setting up. And again, that's not necessarily calling for zero, but just a potential lower time frame pullback. 5-hour red dot looking to print. 6-hour red dot looking to print. So the idea there on my little scalp short is just maybe catch a little bit of a pullback. But again, if it stops out, it is what it is. Overall anticipation would still be higher at this point. Let's see. Shout out to Master Kuzi. Said, Frankie, I sent a super chat earlier about USDT dominance. I meant February 5th, not June 2nd. Shout out to Master Kuzi. Thank you for the super chat, bro. He says, I know you don't use USDT dominance much. Just thought I'd point out that we are currently at the value area high of the range since, what do you say? It was actually February 5th. I could take a quick look at that. Again, the reason I don't really pay attention to USDT dominance is because basically the Bitcoin chart inverted. But let's see here. Currently at the value area high pulled from February 5th. Let me just see here. I see what you're looking at here. So yeah, with your money flow coming out on the daily, right? So again, kind of just an inverted call from the Bitcoin chart. If we see the USDT dominance break into our value area high with money flow coming out, you would be expecting generally for the trend to continue to the downside, potentially targeting the POC and the value area low, which of course, inverted is very similar to what we're seeing on Bitcoin right now, trying to pop inside the value area low and pushing up through that larger macro profile, invert market cipher, right? Invert the colors of the money flow, right? Very similar, right? There's your daily bull div on Bitcoin. Whoops. There's your money flow on Bitcoin about to cross into the green. There's your approach to the value area low, potentially looking to push in through that range, right? So roughly like literally just an upside down Bitcoin chart. But yeah, I would say that generally lines up. Of course, right? If this money flow, if this USDT dominance holds here, money flow fakes back out into the green, maybe that causes a dump on Bitcoin, which of course would just be the same thing as money flow on Bitcoin, faking into the green and coming back into the red. So yeah, definitely, again, very similar. But yeah, I would say that lines up pretty nicely. Shout out to Master Kuzi. Not the worst place to short. I prefer 68K. Shout out to Seek Parabolic. Kind of my exact thought process. Not the worst place. If I get stopped out, no big deal. I do prefer the 68K level. So yeah, again, I've explained this many a times. Is the reason for that is like the short here to the value area low, 1.4, 1.5%. If we take out the highs, or we rip 68K, say, right, you take the short, right, you're also shorting into the POC of the range. So again, even up here, I will treat this as a still looking for just a lackluster pullback for an eventual continuation up, but you could get a little bit of a bigger move there potentially if you come to test the value area low. But yeah, cautious with the shorts here generally, and again, holding that long from 58K for that bigger swing. Just very simple, right? If that money flow crossover into the green is going to continue, indicates that the trend is going to likely continue to the upside. Why would I not hold a portion of that trade, right? Same thing from down here. We took the long, rode it, took some profit. At that point, right, again, the value area high profile looked like this. Right, ride it up to the value area high. At this point, we make a decision. Money flows crossing into the green. Am I going to close the trade in full and flip short for another big drop down? Or would I look to hold a portion of that trade for higher lows and higher highs? Obviously, it would be the latter. So it's like very, very similar situation here when you look at these two profiles. Right, as we get up to the high, money flow is coming up. I'm going to hold a portion of that trade for the breakout. Come up to the high, money flow is coming up. I'm holding that trade for a breakout. Could we come back lower and put in a new low? Who knows? Maybe we can. But again, I do like this one a bit better because of the divergences that we have. Shout out to shout out to Clapjack. Thank you for the super chat, brother. Says, don't forget to deploy your stop claps. I assume that means stop loss. You got to stop yourself from getting clapped. Absolutely. Shout out to Clapjack. Thank you for the super chat, brother. Shout out to Beetlejuice, said 2 girls, 1 cup and handle pattern. Should have read that silently before I said it out loud. Shout out to Beetlejuice. Head and shoulders forming on the 15-minute. Let's take a look. Yeah, I see it. Not a pattern trader, personally. I don't know. Guess it would be something like that, like a general left shoulder, general head, general right shoulder. Try to get you some kind of a measured move there. Bring you back down to about 65.5. Pretty close to the value area low. Let me actually take a look at our liquidation heat map real quick here. And let me pull up a lower time frame here. Let me look at like the 15-minute real quick. Give this a second to load up. Yeah, because I was interested in these lows potentially having liquidity below. It's not huge. It's not huge, but it is there. Again, right, where you have relative equal lows. Right, well, relative equal highs, liquidity resides. There's not really a good saying for relative equal lows. I guess relative equal lows, liquidity goes. I don't know. But, again, when this lines up with our key level of support, if we do get a bigger pullback, again, whether it happens after hitting 68K or it happens from here, right, come sweep out those lows into the golden pocket 786 daily MPOC, right, potential opportunity to bounce, and then your goal there is to get accepted back into the range and continue up. It is, when you're in a situation like this where you have like two profiles right on top of each other, it's kind of difficult, right? Because it's like if you're going to long down here on a flip of support, you're unfortunately, the just fact of the matter is you're going to be longing directly into resistance. But it is just kind of like a unique situation. But again, when you look at it from an overall money flow perspective on the daily, right, looking at this profile, right, pullback, this just looks like a simple high or low before eventually coming up to your next magnetic targets of the value area high and the POC. So I think it's a little easier to look at it through this perspective because you're not like constantly battling like, oh my God, I'm longing into resistance. But yeah, that is definitely the biggest levels. Before we move on to some of the altcoins here, I will just pull up these key zones. This is pulled from the low, so let me just re-pull this. Key level number 1 to the downside, and there's your trap to the upside, right? I won't really be interested in any more shorts until we come up and hit this level, and I won't be interested in taking any longs until we come down to this level personally, right? Doesn't mean you can't bounce here and continue up and take a long there. But for me, these are the levels that I would personally be waiting for. And again, the numerical value, 64,916 to about 64,330, and then up here, call it 67,292 to about 68,000. So we shall see. Let me set alerts here on the lower time frames in case we see a move here. I'll put an alert here below the low, and I'll put an alert here above the high. All right, so there we go. Shout out to Dion. Jarvis, turn anti-clappers on. Computer, turn anti-clappers on. Run anti-clapper protocol. Shout out to that guy on Instagram. I don't know if anybody knows what I'm talking about. But shout out to A-Train in the chat. What is going on, bro? Tony Rosas says, the anti-clappers. Shout out to you, bro. Shout out to Wahoo says, does Frankie ever have discounts on the premium like Black Friday or something? Yeah, shout out to Wahoo. We usually do a big Black Friday sale, and our next live stream that we get 550 likes on, we're going to do 10 discount codes, or I guess one discount code for 10 people. And we'll open up those spots next time we get 550 likes. Let's see. Shout out to Tony Rosas. What's going on, bro? Good to see you in here, man. Let me just make sure I didn't miss anything here in the chat, and we'll take a look at Ethereum. How to identify multiple daily MPOCs. Shout out to Sharam. If you check out the beginner series, I have a video showing how I mark out the MPOCs on the daily, weekly, monthlies. It's pretty simple. I show you how to set it up on a little template here in TradingView. So go to the beginner series. You should see that video in there. It's absolutely free. Let's see. Anti-clappers stand up. Oh, man. All right, let's take a quick look at some of the altcoins here, guys. Obviously, Ethereum holding the key level of support that we looked at back here on Thursday's live stream. Golden Pocket, POC. Looking through the larger volume profile, this is pulled all the way back from 2021, all the way to our current price action. Why am I pulling this to current price action and not stopping the range here? Simply because we have remained inside value. As long as you are getting accepted back into the value, you can extend the price action, or extend the volume profile. This is essentially just a giant area of value, letting us know that when we came down to this value area low with our exaggerated bull divs, equal lows, higher lows, still a bullish divergence, just not as clean as when you have the lower lows, in my opinion. But we push into that value area low with the technical bullish divergences at this point, right? Next highest probability area for price to go is the POC. A little bit of turbulence. At this point, your goal is to get above the POC, flip it into support in order to travel deeper up through that profile. Still have the big target here at about 2,000. I'm going to call it about 2,000 to 2111. 2 daily MPOCs. And of course, this is the overall larger range, right? Again, this does not mean that we are guaranteed to get back up in here, flip this, and get the full move to the value area high. However, you could look at that as a longer-term target, but this is way too far away to be looking at just yet. So, we'll see if we can come into that $2,000 zone, which has been the major area to look at for quite some time. But now we've seen the move up, the flip of the POC at this point. As long as we can stay on top of the point of control, this does remain the next target to the upside. And if we pull up our... Let me just put this together here. And very similar to this, right? We took a look at this range when we were looking at the larger volume profile. When we take a look at the local volume profile right here, that POC on the bigger range sitting right here was confluent with our value area low. Get into the range, flip the low. As long as we stay on top of that value area low, the next target is the POC, which coincidentally, or maybe not coincidentally, just magically sits right there on that $2,000 zone, right? So as long as we can stay inside this range, I would say the next major target to the upside is $2,000 to $2,114. So yeah, pretty simple, right? Ethereum's money flow finally crossing into the green here. You're a little bit overbought on your momentum. So again, short-term pullbacks are to be potentially expected here. But overall, higher lows, maybe you stick to 786, continue up through that profile. Value area low here sits at about 1838. POC sits at about 2060. And then the value area high sits up here at about 2215. So this is the range that I would look at locally for Ethereum. As long as you stay in there, POC door is open. And then on the macro, you can keep an eye on your wrong range. Where'd that bigger range go? There it is. Drag this over here. We get this out of here and change this to 2021 current. So long term, you can look at this range, but of course, obviously, I'm not going to say Ethereum is about to go to $3,300, right? We are still in a bear market, so I would say this is probably the range to pay attention to locally. And there you go, gave you the numerical values there. Money flow looking good on the daily. So there you go. Do I have any personal rules against taking trades on my phone, or do you sometimes take trades on your phone? Yeah, I'll take trades on my phone. Absolutely, right? When it comes to executing the order, people always ask me, like, Frankie, what kind of computer should I get for trading? It does not matter. You could trade from your phone solely, right? The only, it's kind of like a, if you have a computer with big widescreen monitors, right, it's a luxury because you get to see more of the charts, a little more comfortable to do TA on a computer. But when it comes to executing the actual orders, sometimes I will do the TA on my phone, and if I'm not at the moment logged into my accounts, I'll just pull up my app, use Face ID to log in, and just take the actual trade from my phone. So yeah, no, I don't have any rules from taking trades on my phone. It's just a little annoying if you're using TradingView on your phone. You don't have a lot of screen real estate to work with. So no, I don't have any rules against that at all. Let's see. So there we go. There is Ethereum. Let's take a quick look at Solana. Not really huge updates since yesterday on Ethereum. Solana, of course, still same situation, right? We're stuck between our two major volume profiles. lower profile, upper profile. The goal here, biggest level of resistance on Solana sits between 79.80 and 81.71. Golden pocket 786, value area low, resistance. Until proven otherwise. Resistance until proven otherwise. We got the bounce off the POC, which was the key zone that we looked at on Thursday's live stream, I believe. So if we do get the continued retracement, this is the biggest level of resistance to look at. And the goal for the move to the upside would, of course, volume profiles giving you a beautiful roadmap for price. You're looking to get accepted above your value area low at 81.51, which is the doorway to higher prices, labeled beautifully right here. Doorway to higher prices. Flip the value area low, POC door is open, and then, of course, your hope is to, we've already come back down to retest the value area high. You want to stay out of this value area, which is, looking okay right now, and you want to get into this value area for the bigger move to the upside up to 84.73 and potentially, get the bigger move up towards about $91. And now looking at our money flow, right, this doesn't look as clean as Ethereum, right? Money flow is attempting to trend up, but not looking as clean as Ethereum, already crossing into the green. Honestly, not even looking as good as Bitcoin, attempting to cross into the green, right? So Solana's money flow is lagging slightly behind. But I would say structurally, kind of the same thing applies, right? You do not want to get accepted into this profile, and you want to get accepted into this one. Once you get above that 786, I would say POC is a very likely target. And at that point, if your money flow is finally starting to trend up towards the zero line, crossing into the green, you can expect higher lows and higher highs. Higher lows, higher highs, looking to fill that overall volume profile. So there you go. That's what I would look at on Solana. Let me just take this off real quick. So yeah, I think that's about it to cover on Solana. Looking a little bit more locally here, lower time frame. No momentum bear divs here on the 45-minute. Let's check the 1 hour. No bear divs on the 1 hour. 2 hours, slight bearish divergence there. This is probably just a more local fib. This fib up here is the full fib from the high to the low. We are probably rejecting a local fib. Yeah, rejecting this 786 here. So we'll see what happens. I'm not really interested in a trade on Solana right now. I mean, the key areas of interest would be here. And then to the downside, I would say your POC is the last line of defense. Until, lose that POC, that would be your doorway to travel right back down through that profile. But right now we're outside. We're hoping to hold on top of it. You need a 5090 to run TradingView in 8K. Is that true? Shout out to Tony Rosas. You can easily confirm a 15-minute bearish divergence on your phone, take the trade, and figure the rest out later. It's not ideal, but don't miss a move because of it. Yeah, shout out to Jose. Yeah, it's just not good to, if you want to run through, all the previous price action and stuff. But, yeah, on a phone, right, you're dealing with very small real estate. Easy to find those low time frame bear divs. But, yeah, to zoom out and see, the overall price action is usually a bit harder. I need volume profiles crispy AF in 8K. Shout out to Tony. Yeah, they do look better in 8K. Let's see here. Shout out to Supermax Plus. iPhone 27 Super Max Plus Extra Large. It says, in terms of taking good entries, we need to predict patterns on the chart before they happen. Correct. Which time frame is good for swing trades for that? Shout out to Super. overall for me, right, really what I like to do, I always say this, trading is a game of trapping, not a game of hunting. So really what I like to do is set up those key zones, right, or traps in the market, and then I simply wait for those levels to get hit. And as we push into those levels, I go down to the lower time frames to find those divergences or SFPs, CVD divergences, whatever it is that I'm looking for as a confirmation. I go down to those lower time frames to look for those confirmations. As far as my entries, he asked about swing trades specifically. It depends, right? If you're looking for like a daily, right? Here's your key level of support, which was the $58,000 naked point of control, the monthly MPOC. And at that point, right, you're looking for a daily bullish divergence. Price makes the lower low. Price puts in the higher low. There's your bull div. And you can look to either enter in on the green dot printing, or you can wait for it to confirm. Obviously, if you wait for the green dot to confirm, you're going to get a little bit of a worse entry. But yeah, I mean, for a swing trade, right, you start pushing down, you see that green dot starting to print. That is a confirmation, and you can look to go ahead and take that trade. For a swing, you could be potentially, at this point, you could be targeting the previous highs or the value area high. And then, of course, right, this is going to take a little bit of time to play out. This has been how long? 20 days, right, for that to play out. So you can consider that a swing trade, obviously. So yeah, I mean, you would just look for higher time frame confirmations. Now, if you're not looking for the entries on the 15-minute, you're not going to be able to snipe those exact lows. But of course, you're looking for a bigger percentage move. So you're not going to really be that worried if you're getting an entry here or an entry here on the confirmation, right? You're looking for a big percentage move. But yes, absolutely, it's waiting for the key level. And oftentimes, right, if I just pull up the, let me pull up the Discord here real quick and just kind of show you guys how I look at this stuff before it actually happens. So when I look for setups, let me try to find a good example here. Right, for our long position that we were looking at here at the POC of the range, and just to make this make sense here on the chart, the idea was to get a correction down to the golden pocket, or it might have been this one, which were both kind of the same, right? POC anchored VWAP, POC anchored VWAP. See if I can actually, yeah, so it was actually this one, I believe. Looking for that long position down here, right? You can see, I don't want to leak anything here. Wouldn't be fair for the people who pay. Trying to find the example of the trade actually sitting there. We try to predict the move before it happens. It's an if this, then that, right? So I'll just draw this fresh, right? Because I don't want to sit here and scroll through Discord. If we're rejecting here and I'm looking for a long position, the way I would look at that is, hey, right? I'll go into bar replay mode, right? Let's say, again, the value area has moved. You can see currently up to this price action, the value area high had been tapped with bearish divergences. We're looking for a pullback. Where's the next major target within the profile? It's going to be the POC. If we have confluence on that POC, golden pocket 786, money flow coming into the green, of course we can look for the pullback and take a short. But once we get into this key zone, this is the level that I'm looking at for a potential long position. Right? So the setups typically look like this. If this, and we come into this zone, and we see X, Y, Z confirmation, we can then look for a long for a higher low and a higher high, and we simply sit there and wait, right? So back to what you were saying, you have to look for the you have to try to predict what you're looking for first. Yes, right? Up here, we're waiting for that move down, right? I'm not like opening up the chart and saying, what do I do right now, long or short? No, I'm saying, where's the next setup? If I come down here, I want to see XYZ confirmation. If I see that set up, then I will look to take the long position, and hopefully it plays out, right? So yeah, you want to try to predict that. And oftentimes, if we're close enough to the level, we can spot on Market Cipher what kind of divergences we can look for, what kind of confirmations we can look for, whether it's an SFP, a bullish divergence, what every setup is different, right? But, sometimes we can't, right? Sometimes it's too far away. I don't know what the 30 minutes going to look like when we get down there. In that case, right, we have to have the alert go off, then look to see if we have confirmation. Hey, 30-minute bull divs, boom, look for the move to the upside. So yes, you kind of want to have the key level set, right? Have the preset trade setup. Hopefully you can front run your confirmations, but yes, you're trying to predict that move and predict those confirmations. So yes, absolutely, that is the way that I personally trade. If there is no confirmation there, sometimes I'll have a setup and I won't take the trade, right? Even though I'm waiting patiently for that key level to get hit for a long position. I don't just go, oh man, I didn't take a trade today. I am only in the short, right? I didn't take any trades today. I'm bored. If there's no setup here, I just do not take the trade, and I expect lower in this particular scenario. So hopefully that makes sense, and hopefully someone out there learned something. Let's see. That was a coded call, Frankie, 58K. Yeah, it's hard, man. It's hard, especially, obviously in the premium Discord, everyone's kind of used to the fact that, once you're in there for a while, you start to understand, like, man, every time we take longs, it's in a very scary scenario, right? But then I'll put a market update where I'm talking about the same exact confirmations we're talking about in the Discord, and, a lot of people are like, you're crazy, man. This is super bearish. But it's like, we've been waiting for this level for quite some time, and we've been waiting for these confirmations. Absolutely beautiful. So, yeah. I'm always at work when the market is moving. I've missed so many good setups because I wasn't confident in confirming the trade yet and weighing my risk in the moment while I'm distracted at work. Yeah, shout out to Jose, bro. I always tell people, when people say, should I be a scalper? Should I be a day trader? Should I be a swing trader? I think, honestly, a lot of that decision is out of your hands, right? You're going to have a hard time if you have a full-time job. Hopefully, if you're getting into trading, your full-time job does not last forever, and you can eventually fire your boss. But, if you have a full-time job, it's going to be very hard to scalp the 5-minute time frame, right? It just is what it is. So I would say, scalping is probably not the game for you. Day trading is probably not the game for you because it's a full-time job. You got to sit on the charts. You got to watch the candles. You got to watch the order flow. You got to be in it in the moment, right? But for swing trades, right, if you're waiting for price to push down and put in a daily bullish divergence, this could take a long time. Right. For instance, we were looking at this being a lower high to put in a lower low to potentially print the bullish divergences all the way up here. Right. Again, predicting what we're looking for. And then as it sets up, we see the confirmations, we take the trade. If you're waiting for that, you don't have to be on the chart every day. You don't care about this move. You don't care about this move. You're just waiting for that level to get hit. And you could check that, alert goes off even if you're at work, right? You could check it, be like, oh my God, we're at the key level. Daily bullish divergence is printing. I'm going to go ahead and take the trade with my defined risk. And then you could kind of sit there and you don't have to babysit the trade every single day because it's going to take some time if it's going to play out, right? And you're just presetting. You have your entry, right? You have your invalidation. And then you have your targets, and you just let that play out, right? On this pullback, you're not thinking, oh, my God, it's going down, right? You're just waiting for those targets to get hit. Does that make sense? I always tell people, everyone wants to scalp the 5-minute time frame. If you're trying to do that with a full-time job, you're going to have a very, very difficult time. Trust me, I've tried it. I'll never forget sitting in my office at my full-time job, like boss comes in, oh, hey, shut the laptop. What's going on, man? Definitely not looking at charts. Yeah, if the market can't get you with fear or FOMO, it'll get you with boredom. Yeah, that is, a lot of people up or down, right? But there's not a lot of people that are looking for sideways, right? There is a third option there. Let's see. All right, so let's take a look at let's take a look at some other altcoins. Some people asking for virtuals. We could take a look at that. Let's see here. What is I guess it's the Binance chart. Haven't looked at a lot of these altcoins in quite some time. These are super, super old levels. Just take some of this off the chart real quick. Clean it up a bit. All right, so I would still say this is your upper fair value, but I'll hide that for now because we're pretty far away. Let's pull up the daily time frame. Pull up the weekly, actually. Low, high. Just pull this volume profile real quick. Lucy is going crazy out there. She's barking. So daily money flow looking somewhat similar to Ethereum. Now, remember, guys, we are getting a bit overbought, right? Now, this money flow crossover does not always necessarily mean up in a straight line, right? You have to anticipate the ebbs and flows. If we get a red dot here on the daily, could be an ebb or flow to the downside. But I would say money flow generally trending to the upside here, similar to Ethereum and Bitcoin. Not too shabby. You're back above. Just play with this profile a little bit. Yeah, this is a super wonked out range. Just slowly grinding to the downside. So I wouldn't really say you have a super clean profile here. Like the cleanest profile I can see is up here. All right, beautiful rotation, right? You lose it, you get back up, impulse into your range, PLC value area high, reject the high, back to the low, can't get out, lose the low, back to the low. So this is just, yeah, then this range is just a little bit wonked out. But let me pull a fib here real quick. So I would say this is definitely going to be your biggest level of resistance. Full golden pocket 786 from this entire leg down. If the daily money flow crosses into the green and we continue an uptrend, this would be the biggest level to look at, in my opinion. Let me check if we have any MPOCs here. All right, so let me just mark this out. Weekly, got another one right up here. Let's check the monthly. No monthly. Just check the dailies. Do have a daily MPOC right in that golden pocket. Boom, got another one there on the 786. And then you got a few down here. Got one here, and one right down here. All right, so this would be the range I would look at. It is a bit wonky here, but let me just see something. Yeah, and this is, I am inclined to kind of pull this cleaner fair value. See where this 786 lies. Okay, so these will be a little bit more tangible as local targets. You have your golden pocket, weekly MPOC, point of control. This would be the next target to the upside if we can stay inside this profile. Value area low, POC, value area high. So if that daily money flow continues into the green, right, your hope here is that you stay inside this profile to continue the trend into this zone here at about 70 to 73 cents. Flip that weekly MPOC. Of course, this could be turbulence, but once you get above that point of control, next target would be sitting up here at the 786 value area high. You could actually pull that up to the daily MPOC, but I'll just keep this nice and local here. Let me pull an anchored VWAP as well from the high. Oh, we're hitting the anchor VWAP right now. So it's probably the value area low of this value there. POC. Okay. So yeah, this is probably the range that I would look at. Again, difficult to pull these ranges when you're just kind of trending down. There's no clear value. But I would say this is probably the nicest one to look at for me personally. Little turbulence on the anchored VWAP. Next target to the upside, 70 to 73. Once you flip that POC, 76 to 78. 12-hour money flow trying to come up. 16-hour money flow trying to come up, and that daily money flow trying to come up as well. Biggest line in the sand to the downside for virtuals. Yeah, all these daily MPOCs, full golden pocket 786, sitting right here. Right, once you cannot hold. Right, if we wind up getting a big correction, if you can't hold that 786, then you're looking for new lows. But we'll cross that bridge if and when we get there. Right now, I'd be looking at this volume profile. So, yeah, there's virtuals. Value area low sitting at 61. POC sitting at 70. Value area high sitting at 76. Let's see. Shout out to Jose, said, I closed my long position 400 in profit at work the other day, confirmed the short opportunity at work, and took the trade. I was up 800 the next day. I'm learning, Candles. Shout out to Jose. Let's go, baby. Let's go. I love it. There's something about making money at your job, right? There's something about that. I don't know how much you make, but $800, right? You sitting at work, you're like, yo, I just printed $800 on the chart. Screw this job. Screw this job. Can we check XRP? Yes. We can take a look at XRP. We can take a look at NEAR. Let's check in on XRP here real quick. Oh, my God. What the heck? Whew. Look at that wick. Good Lord. What on earth? Got a 5% wick here? Is that on every... Okay, yeah, that's only on... the Bitstamp chart. Interesting. Huh. Not on the Binance chart. Usually you see the scam wicks on the Binance chart. But anyway, situation here on XRP is exactly the same as what we've talked about recently, pulling up the higher time frames. We're holding the macro golden pocket, right? We have this level here, which is key, right? We labeled this key on the live stream the other day. If we lose this golden pocket, guys... the only other support I can see here is, and this is hard because it's such a large range, right? This is just simply a value area pulled from back here. But if we end up losing the bottom of this golden pocket, this is the only untapped level we have below us. Once we lose that, I would say there's a high probability of coming into the POC 786 between about 83 and 76 cents. But until then, we are pretty much just chopping around here between the golden pocket and the value area high. I am not getting out of bed here until we can break above this value area high 786 confluence. That could open the door up to about $1.34. Until then, we are simply just chopping around here. We got the rejection from the golden pocket already. Anchored VWAP coming in. This resistance sits between $1.18 and $1.23. For all I know, we can just continue to range around here, maybe create a bigger volume profile, which we're already starting to do. But I would say from a high time frame perspective, we really do not want to lose $1. Once we lose $1, fast move up could equal fast move down into the POC 786. If we can't hold that, right, we could be looking down towards 60 cents. I'm not saying we have to go down to 60 cents, but until we get either a breakout of this range or a loss of the POC, it's pretty much just chop city, right? This would mean something. If we flip this, we can go seek out the previous value. And if we lose the POC, this would also mean we can continue to the lose the golden pocket. We could head back down towards that POC. We are inside this value area. All right. So until then, the doorway to the lower prices is open. That doorway does not close until we can get out of here and flip this to support. Very simple. Key resistance, $1.18 to $1.23. Key support, about $1. Doorway. Daily money flow attempting to trend up here, so that is nice. Hopefully we can continue that bigger trend and get out of this volume profile. So yeah, not too much of an update there on XRP from what we've been looking at recently, but there you go. Let's see. Yeah, where Wixit sticks, shout out to the 24th frame, says, this happens all the time. I just follow the wick and price follows. The only thing I will say there is on XRP, that wick is only, at least, it's on the Bitstamp chart. It is not on the Binance chart. Let's see. It's not on the Coinbase chart. So just keep that in mind. It is only on one chart. Not saying that it won't fill the wick, but so yeah. Shout out to Always, says yields up and a war escalation. I'm sure this run will dissolve soon. Could be the case, right? I am not a narrative trader. I'm always going to be a technical trader for very specific reasons. But yeah, right. Like, I mean, who knows, right? If that is the case, doesn't mean that this money flow crossover can't continue us up, right? Again, it's the same thing here. Money flow crosses into the green. The trend continues up. That's what we were looking for. That's what we got, right? Money flow crossover into the green indicates the trend will continue up. A lot of people would say, yeah, but we're in a bear market, all these bearish things. Yes, of course, right? It's not saying that you cannot go lower eventually. But, just looking at the signs on the chart here, I would say, just not even my opinion, right? But just based on money flow, you're more in a situation where this is likely to happen, even if it does end up ending in something like that, right? And who knows, right? Like, at the end of the day, there's no guarantee this has to play out either, right? It's a game of probabilities. That's why managing the risk is so important, right? It's not about taking your whole account and risking everything on one trade, right? To be clear, like my long from here, if we wind up coming down and getting another low, right, I'll get stopped out in profit. I'm not going to lose a ton of money, right? And then I'll have an opportunity to buy some more lower, which I would not hate. Technicals and narratives is a better idea. Yes, absolutely. I would agree with that. Which unfortunately, again, the other thing you want to think about in this kind of point in the market, whether we go lower or not, right? Narratives are always absolute trash, right? FTS collapses. They're going to regulate crypto into the ground. AK incoming, AK incoming, AK incoming. The bottom is in, right? So, what would I be expecting at the lows? I would expect sentiment and narratives to be absolute garbage, right? I would expect everyone looking for lower. I would expect the most bearish news ever. This typically happens at the bottom. So yeah, that's why I don't really listen to narratives, right? If I pull up my cycle chart here, come up to the weekly time frame, we have it marked out here, right? And I used to have them all the way leading up to here, right? But I'll just right at the top, El Salvador, right? Or I would say, in my argument here is that this was the real top. But whether you look at the real top or the numerical top, whatever one you want to consider real, right? This was the euphoric top. This was a slightly higher high to print a bearish divergence. Either way, both of them came on bullish news, right? Here, if I were looking for a short, people would be saying, but the Coinbase IPO announcement, oh my God, this is super bullish. Massive 55% correction, right? El Salvador made it legal tender. It's going to the moon. It's the top, right? And likewise, at the bottoms, right? I'll have to go back here and remark off these news. But down here, right? Oh my God, FTX, super bearish, right? Bottoms in. So what can we say there, right? Well, we could say typically there is super bearish news at the bottom, super bullish news at the tops. Again, not going to be 100% hit rate on that. But what does that make me think? That makes me think if we are bottoming out, right? And, we're talking about, wars and all this stuff down here. That's interesting. That's interesting to me. If we get another drop on super bearish news, that's going to be interesting to me, right? So yeah, that's why I kind of have trouble with narratives, right? If I were going to base my anticipation off narratives, I would have to look back and say, well, hey, last time there was super, oh my God, it's bearish. All these bearish things are happening. We're going lower. I have to look back at these times and be like, well, hey, it's actually kind of an inverse signal more often than not. Again, not 100%, but so yeah, just food for thought. Shout out to Always says bottom is almost in my opinion, still one more step. I would agree. I'm not here to, for me personally, I'm not worried about missing the forest for the trees, saying like this is definitely the low, or maybe we have to go for one more leg down. I'm open for another leg down, but I am more in the camp here. 2026 bottom watch. If it's not in, it's probably close. So I'm pretty much on the same side as you, brother. Let's see. Hype. Yeah, we could take a look at hype. Come on over to the alt template here. I should really start flagging these. All right. Let me flag this so I know. All right. Let's see here. So hype with a very clean. Let me just see this real quick. So yeah, lost the golden pocket. And of course, within the volume profile, looking at this, right, we come into the POC, we get a bounce for a higher low, push back above the profile. Bearish divergences into your 786 Fibonacci retracement. At this point, on the pullback, two biggest levels of support, value area high and the POC. You try to hold. at the value area high, get back into the range, can't break out. At that point, next highest probability area for price to go is the POC. You get a nice bounce off the POC, and anytime I long at a POC, it's not that I'll never long a POC, but I have to understand that I am longing into, number one, overall, I would expect the full volume profile rotation. But if I see bullish signals down here, it doesn't mean I can't long it, but I have to understand that once I lose the high and bounce off the POC, if we get stuck inside this profile, the overall anticipation is to fill that volume profile in full. And let me just go ahead and extend this to the current price action. Just wanted to see if this dragged our value area low up. It did not. Let's take a look at this real quick. So I would actually, let me pull this on the daily real quick. Take that golden pocket off. Daily money flow coming out on hype, which is kind of funny because everything else is coming up. Most things have money flow coming up. And when everything else was looking like trash, hype started to look good. When we were looking at these bull divs at the low with money flow coming up, I was like, guys, this sounds weird. But this chart, isolated from understanding we're in a bear market, this chart does not look bad. Bull divs into the value area low. Money flow started coming up on the way to the upside. We started to see our higher time frame money flow crossing into the green. This looks good for more upside, and everything else looks like trash. And now we have money flow trying to come up on other things, and daily money flow is coming out on hype. So I would say if you continue down, the next key level to look at is going to be the 786 value area low, sitting right here, 56.56 to 57.86. If we go for that full rotation, that is your biggest key level of support. And if we pull up our MPOCs here real quick, just see if we have any significant confluence here. No monthlies, no weeklies, right? Yeah, no weeklies. Pull up the daily. You do have a daily MPOC and a daily MPOC. So yeah, we could take this off now. So yeah, this is the volume profile I would look at. Value area low 56.64, POC 62.17, value area high 68.28. If we continue down, biggest area of interest, you have this daily MPOC, but I would really like to see that full rotation for another move back up to the POC, flip the POC, go to the high. And with your daily money flow coming out, again, this is a little bit difficult because on other things, I'm looking for higher lows and higher highs. On this, right, just based on your money flow, you would expect potential lower highs and lower lows. So I would be interested down here. And then if you flip your point of control here, let me take this off, Key level of resistance would be right here. Sitting between 69.87 and 67.22. So this is kind of, you're just in the middle of the range, right? This is not typically a place where I'd look for a trade. If you just get a pop to the upside and you continue up, this would be the biggest level of resistance. And if we do end up continuing down, this would be your biggest level of support. Once you end up losing this 786 and you cannot get back inside the range, I would say take out these lows at about 52 cents. So this would be the overall volume profile to look at. Money flow looks bearish, in my opinion, which is hard because it is going against everything else that we're, all the other coins, pretty much. Right? I want to say every other coin, but most other coins. Ethereum, Bitcoin, Solana, etc. Near, yeah, we could take a quick look at Near. Let's make sure I didn't miss anything here in the chat. Let's take a look at near here real quick. Just get my bearings from the low to the high. Take a look at the daily money flow. Yeah, similar to, I mean, this is super choppy. Generally trending out on the daily. Holding on top of the anchored VWAP, which is nice. I would say I would keep this nice and simple. POC and value area low is very close to the bottom of the range. So I would say if you lose your anchored VWAP, which currently comes in at $1.79, lose this anchored VWAP, cannot reclaim it, golden pocket, POC, value area low. I would look at these as two separate zones. Zone number one. You were hoping, right, with your fib pulled from the low to the high, if you're going to continue higher lows and higher highs, this is the level to hold. Money flow is not pointing towards that right now. But I would say lose $1.79, can't get back above it, continue down to the golden pocket, value area low, POC between 139 and 127, right? You're just within a volume profile. Deviation above the high, bearish divergences. This is where you're looking at price as overvalued. Get back into the range, can't get back out. Usually you're looking for the POC somewhere in the middle of the range, but in this case, POC value area low is all the way down here. So biggest level to the downside. And I would say as long as you stay in this range, I would just pay attention to the volume profile levels. Pull from the high to the low. You can see confluence here on your golden pocket 786 with your value area high. So biggest key level of resistance, biggest key level of support. Inside here, I am not interested in long in the middle of a range or shorting the middle of a range, especially when there's no POC for context. So if we came down here, I'd be interested in a bounce. Came up here, interested in a rejection. Overall, daily money flow kind of wonked. 16-hour money flow trying to come up. 12-hour money flow trying to come up. Interesting. 10-hour money flow in the green. What's the weekly look like here? Yeah, you don't have any of the bull divs confirmed at the low either. So I would just watch these key levels, to be honest. Let me just do something here real quick. Yeah, I would watch this locally. I'm not going to be watching this macro range just yet, but you do have a value area high at about 333. Low, deviation, back in, can't get out. POC, value area low. Bounce off the low, get above the POC. Value area high could be next. It's just the money flow here that's a little suspicious on the daily. No one knows, right? This could scam back to the upside, but yeah, money flow just a bit unclear there. So I would watch the local levels. Once we break above that, then you can look for that higher time frame. What's this? Then you can look for that higher time frame value area high. So I'll actually mark that off with just a horizontal line. It's not too far above the highs. So I'll just say, boom. So there you go. So yeah, that's what I would look at. I mean, lose the anchored VWAP, looking for the bigger move down, and then biggest resistance up here. All right, let's see. Where do I start my anchored VWAP most times? Anchored VWAPs are always going to, I mean, there's really no real wrong way to do this, right? It's just taking an average. But I usually pull these from significant lows or significant highs, right? Currently, we're hitting the anchored VWAP from the high and bound, kind of pinched between the anchored VWAP from the high and the low. So you could argue, right? Snap above this, push here. Snap below this, push here. I'm not personally in the camp of trying to decide and trade this move or this move. I'd rather trade a move at this key level or at this key level and let whatever's going to happen here just play out. And the reason for that is we're not really at a key level here, right? Value area low, golden pocket, POC, right? That's a key level. Value area high, golden pocket, 786, that's a key level. In here, not really much of a key level. No confluence. Shout out to Brillo, said, thanks for the advice the other day regarding overcoming analysis paralysis. I've gotten so many more clean setups, and I'm not missing trades. I'm actively monitoring. Cheers. Shout out to Brillo. Let's go, baby. Let's go. Sometimes you just got to take that dang trade, bro. And managing the risk really helps you with that, right? If you know that you're not going to blow up your account if the trade loses, you're going to be more confident in just taking the trade because you know the worst case scenario is not that bad. So there you go. Do I use EXO to mark the MPOC on MPOCs on alts? Actually, most of my altcoin MPOCs are from TradingView, just because it takes forever to load up every altcoin on EXO charts. So most of them are TradingView MPOCs. Just sold all my DOT now. Shout out to Clap. We could try to take a look at DOT. Haven't checked it on this in quite some time. Where's it at? Where is it at? Where is it at? There she is. So, yeah, will DOT survive? I mean, the chart does not look good here, guys. Got your 2-week bull divs forming at the low. Maybe that gives you a push to the upside. But let me pull this up over here on the alt chart. Oh, well, hey, I mean, we hit the extension level. Of course, on the way down, the only thing we can look at are these extension levels. 82-cent extension level definitely ended up getting hit. Looked at that from just, yeah, pulling from this low to the high gives all those extension levels. Everyone tapped. 1, 2, and even this one as well. So, yeah, it's very hard for me to find lower targets for this. They've all been tapped. You've pushed into the last extension level that at least I was looking at. You have 2-week bullish divergences forming. Again, you have to be careful here, guys. Will Polkadot go to new all-time highs? I think it's going to be pretty hard, to be honest. I mean, how far are we down here? Yeah, 98%, maybe more. Wick brought you down 98.9%. Oh, my God. So, yeah, it's like very hard for me to call lower levels here, and maybe you sweep the wick. Worth paying attention to. But, yeah, like even this local profile is super far away. I would say really, like, it's kind of a waiting game here. If Polkadot ends up getting a big move, you're really hoping that you can get accepted or at least approach this previous fair value. In my opinion, it's going to be very hard to get a move like that. Until everything starts to get going. So, yeah, to be honest, biggest level above you, $3.67. If we could somehow work our way out of here, you're looking to flip $3.67. I'm sorry, yeah, $3.67. POC sits at 423. Got to get above this zone. Not really much I can do with this chart, to be quite honest. Got to get above here. And then you're looking for a potential push up towards the value area high. And then at least you'll be back in fair value. But obviously this thing is just, looks like it's going to zero. So yeah, only other thing I can look at down here is the wick low at 62 cents. So yeah, money flow. Yeah, just nothing to take away there. Nothing to take away from that. 2-week bull divs. That's the only thing I see here. But of course, money flow absolutely dumping to the downside. So pray for Polkadot. Pray for Polkadot. Let's see. How often have you seen a 1-week bull div together with a 10-hour 1-week 1/16th? From my analysis, this is the only This is only the 6th time that happened on Bitcoin, with the lowest reaction being 17% in the past. So yeah, we took a look at that yesterday with the weekly bullish divergence and that green dot printing on the weekly and the 10-hour money flow crossover. 10-hour money flow crossover happening at the same time as a weekly green dot, which you can see obviously was the case here, is a bullish market cipher B, 1/16 setup. How many times have we seen a weekly bull div and that same thing happen? Let's see. Well, last significant weekly bull div, especially in the context that we're in right now. Yeah, this would take me a long time to go through. I don't think you had it here. Yeah, that was after confirmation. Green dot was printing there. Yeah, I would have to go back and like take time to look at this. Is that still on it? Yeah, so I guess you could say this bull div that happened. But again, it did fake out back into the red. Soon after that crossover. So, but this was 9 to 10%. So yeah, I don't want to go through and like look at every single one of these just because it's going to take a lot of time. But I could try to take a look at that after the stream. But I would just look at that as a general kind of sign, right? Like daily money flow coming up, weekly bull div confirmed, green dot on the weekly confirmed with the 10-hour bull div, 10-hour money flow crossover, right? Anytime you see weekly green dot, I don't know why I made the G lowercase, and a 10-hour money flow crossover, that is a 1/16 strategy. Green dot on the weekly can give you a pretty nice push to the upside, and on the 10-hour, that would look like the trend continuing up. Does that make sense? So yeah, I'll have to look into that. But it is nice. It is nice that we have it printing right now. Can we take a look at ton? Yeah, we could take a look at ton. I'm really going to stick to like macro analysis on the altcoins right now. Do I have a ton chart here? I don't believe I do. Trying to find something with a bit more price history. Ugh. What about Binance? Just trying to find that price history. All right, there we go. A little bit more price history here over on KuCoin. All right, let's see here. So daily, no bullish divergence. Let's check the weekly. Weekly bull div was confirmed down here. Lower lows, higher lows, big pop to the upside. Your hope here is that this, let's take a look at this based on log. Yeah, 786 tapped. This is a very important level to hold. If we lose this, we could very easily take out these lows at $1.11. But you have your weekly bull divs confirmed. Pull some high time frame levels here. Monthly MPOC. Monthly MPOC. Nothing there. Weekly. Take this golden pocket off because it's tapped. All right, so this is a very crucial level to hold, in my opinion, for ton. Once you lose that 786 and these weekly MPOCs can't hold you up, I mean, you're already pretty much at the lows. So I think it's pretty obvious that I would definitely be looking for a sweep of the lows there at about $1.12. But you are holding this with bull divs confirmed, potential higher low, right? Potential. Money flow still coming out on the weekly. Daily money flow still pretty deep in the red. Try to pull some kind of a profile here. Let's see. It's kind of difficult. I mean, obviously we have balance up here. We have balance right here. This is just kind of the wonk. Take this off for now. So yeah, this is not my favorite volume profile, but it's really the only thing. Yeah, I mean, this is not a very pretty profile. Yeah. So you have your previous profile, which we back tested the value area high, which also says if you lose that 786, weekly MPOC right on the point of control of the range, and then your next weekly MPOC is right on the value area low. So what I will actually do here is I'm going to mark this out as a volume profile. There's your high, there's your POC, there's your low. So yeah, I mean, lose the 786. Probably going to continue down to the POC and potentially the value area low. So you really want to hold on top of this level. This is super, super key support. Whoops. And we are currently bouncing off of weekly bull divs into that level. All right. Bull divs, higher low onto the 786. You know, once we lose that, we're looking to come back down into this range. For the move to the upside, biggest key levels of resistance, I'm just going to give you these weekly MPOCs because they're really the only thing that I can look at. We can also pull this. As your volume profile above. So yeah, when you look at it from this perspective, you are bing-bonging around between these two profiles. Your goal is to get above this weekly MPOC, flip it into support, sitting at $1.59. That would open the door for a move up to about $1.72 to $1.75. If we come back down, you do not want to get accepted back in here. If you do, looking for that rotation of the profile. So very similar to a lot of other things between two major profiles. Doorway to higher prices, doorway to lower prices. $1.60, doorway to higher prices, $1.37, doorway to lower prices. So we'll see what happens. You got your 1 hour money flow crossing into the green here. Check the 16-hour, no confluence, daily green dot printing, 90-minute money flow coming up. So yeah, I would say that daily green dot will, if it's going to stay there, it will confirm in about 54 minutes. We have the 1 hour money flow crossover and the 90-minute money flow crossover. If we could see this 90-minute money flow cross into the green, could look for a potential continuation of the uptrend into that $1.59 level. And then your hope is that it flips to support so you could travel up through the rest of the profile and this money flow starts cooking up. So there you go. That's what I'll be looking at on PUN. Shout out to Ace said, hey, Frankie, when you're finding TP levels and there is little confluence, do you prioritize the volume profile levels over fib levels? Which one if they're all spread out? Shout out to Ace. That question is completely dependent on the actual situation. There's going to be some times where I am just clearly looking at the volume profile levels. Each individual situation is going to be a little bit different. So it's kind of hard to give like a binary answer for that. Typically, I would look at the volume profile levels, right? Lose the high, POC is next. come back up. Value area high is your key level of resistance. If you get back in, very high probability of coming down to the POC. So, for example, if I am short from up here, yeah, again, it also depends, right? If I'm short from the actual high, sometimes I'll use the value area high as a TP1, right? Because I'm already up 3%. Plenty of room to lock in some profit and move my stop loss. If I'm in from the value area high, oftentimes the POC is my first take profit, right? And then my second take profit is the value area low. Up here, right, it could be TP1, TP2, let the rest ride. So it really depends on each individual situation. Where the fib levels can come in is when you're looking for, like, let's say I am long from the value area low looking for the POC. If I have mixed signals or the confirmations are not clear that I have a high probability of coming to the POC, you can pull the fibs and see where those intermediary resistance levels are. Right? So it's like, like if I have money flow coming out, again, it's individual to each situation. Here, money flow is coming up, so we're going to be looking for the POC and eventually the value area high. But let's just say money flow, here's your zero line. Right? Let's say money flow was in the green and it's just starting to cross red. Right? Well, in this case, I'm going to want to be very careful around this golden pocket. Even though if we get into the range, we can move up to the POC, this would be, if the money flow is coming into the red, I would be anticipating potential lower highs for lower lows to continue the downtrend. In that case, I can pull my local fib and get those kind of local targets. But in any case, right, the value area low is pretty close to that level anyway. Right? So it really depends. I always tell people the easiest way to look at it is if you're long from below the value area low, the value area low can be your first take profit. If there's enough room, right? Like here from 58 to the value area low is 4%, right? So that is a decent amount of room to make some profit. Lock in some profits, move your stop loss to break even, right? If you're long from the actual value area low, well, POC is your clear major target, right? And the way I look at volume profiles, I usually just draw it like this, right? Long at the value area low, TP1 POC, TP2 value area high, right? Because that magnetic rotation is very likely. Hopefully that makes sense. But yeah, it really is going to depend on each individual. Like for the short here, right? Short in at the value area high, typically you're looking for POC and an eventual rotation of the value area low. But we looked at this as the target for our short from here to the POC. The main target was the point of control. And I can actually show this in the Discord, right? Short from above the highs, push into the POC. Short from above the highs, push into the POC. That target was the POC. Why is that? It's because money flow was coming up, right? So the POC is kind of that major target. It was also confluent with the Golden Pocket 786. So that's always going to be like a major thing I'm taking into account. All right, I'm not always anticipating the full rotation if the context is calling for something different. Shout out to Ace said, that helps. Thanks as always. Man, you're the best. Shout out to you, brother. Of course. That's why we're here, man. That's why we're here. Let's see. Can we look at Zcash? Sure can. Let's take a look here. I don't know why that is marked when that is not our chart. So Zcash, let's take a look here. Valid. Golden Pocket 786. So yeah, honestly, we must have looked at this recently because these levels are still valid. So value area high, rotation of the low, deviate below the low, back in, POC, value area high, back to the POC. Technically, you front ran here, but ended up hitting it. This is your Golden Pocket 786. Let me check the daily. Daily money flow generally coming out, I would say. So let me get rid of this Golden Pocket real quick because it's tapped. All right, I'll keep that value area high, just showing it as resistance. Daily MPOC has been lost. So yeah, I don't remember the exactly when we looked at this. It might have been on Thursday. We looked at some of the altcoins. But you're back below the value area high, right? Check the lower time frames. You had 4-hour bearish divergences on that deviation above the profile. This is typically where you're looking for shorts. Once you get back into the range, can't get out, can't get out. You know, this is your biggest level of resistance. If we stay inside this range, the next major target is going to be the daily MPOC, golden pocket, potentially the anchored VWAP confluence, sitting right here at 468.49 and 446.58. And then below that, of course, right, golden pocket 786. This is typically a big zone. I've separated these into 2 separate areas because this is a very large zone. If you were looking along at the daily MPOC golden pocket with a stop loss down here, it's a very large stop loss. So I like to separate these into 2 separate zones. I would say overall you would be expecting the POC of the range, right? If we can't get out of here, the draw towards the golden pocket 786 POC, right? POC being the strongest magnet within the profile. And let me actually... we can potentially extend this, but I would look at it through this lens, right? If we're going to continue an uptrend, you're looking to bounce here or here. 786 daily MPOC point of control sits between 425.07 and 412.72. And let me just do this for funsies. See where that gives us. Doesn't change it too much, so I'm going to leave that there. So yeah, you have your 4-hour money flow crossing into the red. This does oftentimes indicate lower highs and lower lows, eventually gravitating you towards these next 2 targets. So mark these zones off on your chart. For Zcash, money flow coming out, not impossible to get that continuation down, right? And if I were to look for anything up here, right, I would not be looking for a long into resistance, long into resistance, long into resistance, right? You're below the value area high. If anything, I would have to look for a short. I'm not saying I'm taking a short, but at the value area high, you're always going to be better off looking for shorts rather than longs. So there you go. There is Zcash. Let's see. I want to see 55K, but sometimes you don't get what you wish for. Shout out to Zeus. Yeah, that is true. More often than not, at least for me. Actually, I'm going to lie. I feel very blessed to get what I want most of the time. But, yeah, I have been humbled. Not humbled, but, like, you know, I'll always have my statistical higher probability and then what I prefer to see happen. And more often than not, you know, what you want does not always come in. That is for dang sure. Shout out to Rudy, said, damn, bro, my 16-year-old dog is sick. Family leaving on vacation with me. Frankie, hold me. I'm bummed, dude. Shout out to Rudy, bro. Dang, man. I hate to hear that. Dang, bro. Well, praying for your pup, dude. Praying for your pup. 16 years old is a long life. That is a long life. So I'm sure they lived a very, very happy life. We're here for you, brother. That is the worst thing ever, man. I hate hearing people dealing with dog problems, man. Yikes. Well, she's in my thoughts, or he's in my thoughts. I'm not sure if it's a boy or a girl, but I'm sure he's a good girl or a good boy. Let's see here. Did we check ADA yet? We did not check ADA yet. I will check in on Cardano very, very, very quickly here. Where is it at? Where is it at? ADA. We got to go to the alt template. All right, let's see here. So Cardano pushed back into the value area high of the range, getting a bit of a breakout. I believe we looked at this yesterday, which was the 20th around this time. So breakout. Push back into the value area high, 24 and 30-minute money flow coming out, 8-hour red dot looking to print. So if we're going to get a continued pullback here, I mean, right now, as clear as day, value area high is your key level of support. All right, this box is sloppily drawn. So if we break back into this value area high, right, your goal here for a continuation up into this bigger level of resistance between the golden pocket 786 and the top of our low volume gap, you really want to hold on top of this value area high. If you can hold the support here, continue up, right? This is your next big zone of resistance. Not a huge update, 18 to 19 cents. And then once we get above that 786, you got a big low volume gap above you, which could cause a big move to the upside, but you're still pretty far away from that level for now. And honestly, looking at the money flow, just still super chopped up, man. I mean, it's brutal. 45-minute, yeah. I would still say on the higher time frames here, daily money flow coming up, 16-hour money flow crossing into the green, 12-hour money flow coming up. I would say there's a shot here for a bit of a continuation, longer term or higher time frame. But looking at your lower time frames, break back into the range here, can't get out, could see a bit more of a pullback. And I could try to pull up some high time frame levels to see if we have any confluence. No weekly, or no monthly rather. No weekly. Check the dailies. Yeah, dang. Your next daily MPOC is right down here. Right on the POC. So, I mean, this is what I would have to be looking at. Get accepted into the value area high, cannot break back out, could be a push down towards that POC daily MPOC confluence. Also confluent with the value area low, pull our fib from the low to the high. Look at that. Nice confluence there. So you could actually separate this into two zones. 786 value area low, golden pocket, daily MPOC. So if you get a move down and you do not hold this value area high as support, once we get in here and can't get out, this would be the biggest zone of support to look at. Sitting between 16 cents, about 16 cents, right? 16.41 to 16.20. And then, of course, if you can't hold that POC, 786 is all part of this bigger zone of support. 786 value area low sits between about 16.02 and 15.90. So the hope here for a continuation up, if we get a bigger pullback, right, would be pullback, higher low, higher high. Maybe you have to wick down to the value area low, but something like this holding would be very important. And then hopefully you could see your money flow continue to trend to the upside for a continuation up. Would I be looking for a long here? Not necessarily, just based on two different things. Number one, lower time frame money flow like the 30-minute coming out. Check the 15-minute, 15 minutes in the red. Let's see, 5-hour red dot. So yeah, you might have some local turbulence here, but I don't hate this medium time frame and higher time frame money flow. I mean, would I look for a long here? Not personally. It doesn't mean that you can't hold some local levels here and continue up, but I am just never really going to be looking for a long unless I have a very specific reason. Like, this is just really a place where I would be more interested in a continuation down once you lose that value area low. So yeah, I would have to be waiting for a bigger move down unless you have some local context you're looking at. You want to take a scalp long. But for me, it's hard for me to long. Once you lose the value area high, it's hard for me to long into resistance. I guess you would have to long at the support here. But I don't really see any daily MPOCs. No daily levels. There's no real significant confluence up here. Medium time frame. So that's what I'd be looking at on Cardano. Value area high sitting at 17.25. POC sitting at 16.20. Value area low sitting at 15.91 with those confluences. Biggest resistance, biggest supports. So there we go. There is Cardano. Let's go take a quick check-in on Bitcoin. Still just chopping around here locally. Just no significant move at all throughout the entire live stream. But as you guys know, I will leave you with these key levels for Bitcoin. Key support, if we get a bigger pullback, 65 to 64,340. Biggest level of support. This is the next place I'll be looking for longs. And if we get the push to the upside, we're already getting rejection from the POC. The next area I will be looking at is the daily MPOC / previous highs between 67,220 and call it $68,000. We also have that anchored VWAP pulled from the highs coming in there as well. So if we do end up continuing up, remember, although I am holding a scalp short, I am more interested in these highs getting taken out. So we'll see what happens. Happy to take a small loss there. Already took a not a loss. I got stopped out on my short yesterday, but it was at break even, right? So free trade. If we got the big move down, beautiful. I can make money. If I get stopped out, it's really no skin off my back because my stop loss is at break even. Similar thing here, except my stop loss is not at break even yet. I will take a small loss and then look for another setup up here. But overall, medium time frame, guys, I will say daily money flow. Will we see the daily money flow continue into the green and get this bigger move through this upper profile? And more accurately, I should say, into our POC and then into our value area high, into, again, the title, 70K incoming, potentially 70,000 to about 71,450. Are we going to see that money flow continue up and give us the continuation of the uptrend, flip 68K and push into the 70s? I hope so. That is the next major target. If we could break 68K, a next major target between 70,000 and 71,440. And then once we start, if we can crack out of there, the money flow's cooking into the green, I will simply take that range off the chart and bring up our macro range and start targeting those bigger macro targets between $75,000 and $78,000. So we'll see. Money flow looking pretty. Look at it while it lasts, guys. Hopefully we don't get faked out here. But this is looking pretty nice for a continuation up. If something changes or we end up losing key levels of support and this idea is invalidated, I will, of course, keep you guys updated here on the YouTube channel. But thank you all for tuning in. I appreciate every single one of you guys for hanging out with us here on this beautiful Tuesday on the Frankie Candles YouTube channel. Shout out to Morningstar. Shout out to Manaj. Shout out to Jesse and Darren Does Things for holding it down as our mods. Shout out to Rudy. Shout out to Cha. I don't know if that's right. Shout out to Mark and shout out to Jose. Thank you guys for being here. Smash that like button if you could on your way out. It helps out the channel endlessly. And again, next stream that we get 550 likes on, we'll give away some discount codes for the Discord and as well as 3 Frankie Candles hats, and I'll give $150 away to someone as well. So there we go. That's all we got for today's live stream. I will see you guys tomorrow. Pray for that money flow crossover and small pullbacks for continuations up. Hasta pasta. Frankie Candles out. Bing bong.
Here we go. At the top of the class on a roll. And it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Ayy, on the road, here we go, here we go. Yeah, we winning by a landslide. Never see me coming on my landmine. Yeah, I ain't taking orders in command like. Yeah, you about to see me on demand like. You know on demand. If you ain't know, you about to understand. Yeah, I got the team by my side, right hand. Yeah, take it to a string, you ain't seen it like that. Yeah, and it's the dream, and we coming for the bag. Yeah, and we ain't ever going back now. Future expedited, now we on the fast track now. They won't lend a hand, now they see us on the map now. It's time to act out. Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll. And it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Ayy, on the road, here we go, yeah. At the top of the class on a roll. Ayy, and it's time to run it up, yeah, you know, yeah. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, yeah. On the road, here we go, here we go. Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll. And it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Ayy, on the road, here we go, yeah. At the top of the class on a roll. Ayy, and it's time to run it up, yeah, you know, yeah. Maxed out.